The question that's being asked oftentimes is the question that is least relevant to get the outcome that you want. And it's no different when it comes to the question of how to master my thoughts, how to control my thoughts. Because it's in the question itself which exposes the problem, which most people go to when they're trying to address this problem of getting better mental health, going further and deeper down into their self-actualization journey, and just living life in a more effortless flow, in a more effortless way, without constantly seeming like they have to fight against themselves. And it's in this question which is the liberation to what the answer is. So I'll give it to you straight. The question of mastery, the question of control is redundant and it's not relevant here at all. You cannot control your thoughts. You cannot control your emotions because these things are fundamentally not you. You can't control your thoughts because your thoughts act independent from you. There's certain external stimulus which will affect your thoughts. Let's say you have had a history with a certain person, like maybe you just broke up with your ex-girlfriend, and your ex-girlfriend or your ex-boyfriend or your ex-husband or your ex-wife or whoever it is walking down the street and you had a messy breakup. That external stimulus is going to trigger a thought pattern. Because here's the thing, you can't choose what thoughts you're going to have. You can't choose not to think. I want everyone listening to this right now, if they want to debate with me, go ahead. For the next 10 seconds, just pause the video. For the next 10 seconds, I want you to not have a thought. If you pause the video and you actually did that exercise, then what you'll find is it's impossible because even the thought of I'm not having a thought is a thought. So how does this become relevant to the question that we're asking here? It becomes relevant because why are you identifying yourself with something which clearly you have no control over? The thoughts come from nowhere and they pass away to nowhere. They come from nothing, they pass to nothing. Let's add some nuance here. The nuance here is we have some kind of partial input to our thoughts, to our mental world, to our mental models, our mental frameworks of reality. However, that is not to be confused with the mastery which we might exert over the external world, like mastery getting good at a skill, whether it's jiu-jitsu, I used to do jiu-jitsu, or whether it's good at business, or whether it's good at a certain sport that isn't jiu-jitsu. Whether it's any of these kind of things, that same mentality cannot be placed onto the mind because the mind is fundamentally different from these external things that we experience in the way that I'm describing now. There's obviously some similarities too. So what does all of this mean? Why am I so almost dogmatic on this question? Because the moment we stop asking the question, the moment we start asking a different question, is the moment that liberation comes. Is the time where mastery around thoughts, internal world, emotions, I'm going to group them all into one here, actually becomes possible. It's when the first step is done, which is we stop identifying. This is why a mindfulness practice and your self-actualization journey is super, super important. When I say mindfulness, I mean insight practice. Now, this can be integrated in a lot of different ways, but it's what I would first point you to is stuff like Vipassana or TWIM, Tranquil Wisdom, Insight Meditation, or some kind of other reputable insight meditation. You can go ahead and find whatever you want. But the second part, which is going to be the most applicable for you guys right now, is the act of stopping resisting. The same way that a river flows, you can think of that as our mind. Our mind is a river constantly flowing, and we can try and dam it and we can try and break it up. And there are certain things which we're able to do. We're able to make big dams like the Hoover Dam, for example, and it stops the flow of water. However, we can't dam the sea or the oceans as an entirety. That is our mind. We're trying to use all of these dam techniques that we learn on how to stop the river flow and how to direct the river current. And we're trying to apply that knowledge that we have to the world's oceans as a whole. That's the fundamental misconception here. We might be able to change a few things with the mind, like we're able to put in different stimulus, or we're able to clean up some shadows, which is what primarily I work with my one-on-one clients, is cleaning up shadow works, cleaning up the really problematic river flows that's maybe going into, somebody's house, or it's going into these floodplains and it's damaging and it's causing all this damage in our life, which is what shadows do. They're limiting beliefs mainly, or they're limiting parts that cause us to limit ourselves and either damage ourselves in a certain area or they don't allow us to live up to our potential in a certain area, usually both at the same time. And that's what I do in my one-on-one work. That's what this whole video series, this whole channel is about. And if you're interested, I do have my one-on-one link below, which is no hard sales and no hard selling. It's just a chat between me and you to see where you are that you're holding yourself back and how we can actually fix that. But we're applying all of these river damming techniques to the ocean as a whole, which is why the second step here of not resisting is the most important. Now, it sounds so basic. You've heard this so many times. Like wherever energy goes, wherever focus goes, energy flows, or whenever you try and resist, it just makes it worse. These are all kind of, you can say, very classic or very cheesy, or they seem very obvious, but how many of us actually do these things? How many of us truly allow something to be there, not with the end purpose, the sneaky end purpose of this thing going away, but truly we are just okay with this thing being here. Now, for those of you that are caught in bad loops or with certain core seed shadows, I do have some video series on those which you can go and address, because this information that I'm giving you right now is to be taken into account with all the other information I'm giving you in these playlists and in these free videos on this channel. It's not just you let go of resistance and suddenly we're all happy bunnies and we're playing around with Father Christmas and we're having, lunch under the rainbow and all that kind of stuff. Although that is, you can live life like that. I try and live my life as much as I can like that, and it works pretty well. But we also want to be realistic here. Just this simple concept of having a bit of a mindfulness practice or having a bit of an insight practice, and then coupled with the fact that we should stop trying to resist and control and master our thoughts and just let them be as they are. There is an incompleteness there, which, don't worry, I am addressing in the broader context of the videos that I'm making in this channel. However, in this video, it's specifically about the question itself, breaking down the question itself and reconstructing a better question, which leads me to the third point, which is after we've stopped resisting, after we've stopped trying to apply these river damming techniques to the world's ocean as a whole, and we actually allow ourselves to realize that this isn't a river, this is an ocean, we begin to treat it that way. Which is, yes, we can stop resisting, we can stop trying to force ourselves to think a certain way, and we can start asking ourselves the proper question, which is, why do these thoughts come up in the first place? Rather than just trying to stop them, what's the actual root cause of this? Where's the place that we have to go where this all started? Because when I was a baby, I didn't have this problem. So at some point along the journey, something happened. A meaning was programmed into us, or a part took over, or something like this. So this is the first question. The second question of these series of questions, which is so important, is not only why is this here, or where is this coming from, but what is making me reactive to my thoughts to begin with? What is making me identify with these thoughts to begin with? The same way that we have eyesight. I'm looking at this camera right now, I'm looking at you. I can see with my eyes, and seeing is just such a wonderful thing. But when it comes to identifying with my sight, I'm not identified with it. I know that I would still be the same person if I was to lose my eyesight, God forbid. I'm still the same person, just with a little bit less. The mind, in the Buddhist Dharmic perspective, I'm not a Buddhist, by the way, I was just educated by my sister, Kante Kema. And there's a really, really useful framework of how to actually work with the mind and what the mind actually is. Mind is the sixth sense. Mind is an extension of mind and body, so thoughts and emotions. And the mind just minds. It just says, this is me, 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 all the time. And it just has thoughts all the time. It's just what it does. The same way that when my eye is open, I can't choose whether I see or not, I just see. And my mind just interprets. If my mind didn't interpret, I would just be seeing form, colors, shapes, but I wouldn't be able to make any sense out of it because I have to decipher it with my eyes and with my mind, and that is happening automatically. The mind thinks automatically. So for us to say that we are this thing that is just happening automatically, the same way that we wouldn't say that I am breathing, I am hearing. It's a part of us for sure, but it's not who we are. Okay? Now, like I said, shadow work is extremely, extremely important for this process, which is why that's what I primarily work with. But you have to, if you're also on this journey, make sure that you're working with somebody who understands these fundamental principles or these core principles about what the big picture of the self is. So we're not just getting lost in the relative self and doing all this cool shadow work and healing limiting beliefs and all that good stuff, and maybe not even just with shadows, but reconstructing constructions, like how we view certain things into the world. We're not just doing that. Someone also has an understanding that this ultimately is not who we truly are. It's something else. And it's so, so important to have that, because if you don't have that, then you just get lost in these kind of questions, because negative thoughts are always going to come up. It's natural, it's part of it. What we're not supposed to do is make a big deal out of it. But if you stay just in that land, then you are going to make a big deal of it. Okay. Which is why that stuff is so, so important in my coaching. However, what do we do with this information? Okay, Aaron, you deconstructed the question. You said all this cool stuff about the mind and I'm bought in, but what do I actually do here? Well, what you actually do here is you start applying these principles, just these intentions, just these ideas in your life. At the start, it'll be strange because it's a very non-doing practice. It's just watching the mind. So one of the first exercises that I ever got when I first started my insight journey, almost or over half a decade ago, was by my current mentor as well, Pierre de Souza. It's a meditation called Watching Trains, which he got from, I think, certain Tibetan Buddhists. And in this exercise, we treat our mind like a train station. And we are one of the people there late at night waiting for our train. And the thoughts that come and go are trains. But our train isn't coming. It's not coming yet. So if we were to jump onto one of these trains simply because they're moving and because we're leaving and because they're leaving, that would just be foolish, wouldn't it? Because it's not our train. We don't need it. We don't need to catch it. Well, our train is coming later. So we just watch the thoughts come and go. This is a really, really cool practice, which I want you guys to start doing, because it will teach us this emptiness of thought, the emptiness of mind. So that not only do we not even ask the question anymore, how do we master and control our thoughts, but we begin to, when these thoughts actually come up, even if they're negative, we can just remain completely unaffected and grounded from them. And this is just one of the many things that I work on one-on-one with my clients, with a combination of shadow work and of this kind of background practice, as well as some conscious coaching too. Because right here, if you're okay with not being okay, then you can never not be okay. It makes us so resilient. It makes us so grounded. It makes life so much more effortless than we are used to. Because now, even when you are feeling bad, it doesn't matter that much, if it matters at all. So if that's something that you're interested in, then please go ahead and click the link below. And as a last final part, what I want to share with you is, when you're doing this practice, it doesn't mean that the world is fake or the world isn't something to enjoy. We can enjoy the world fully. If you are, from these practices, getting a little bit depressed, getting a little bit nihilistic, then please put it in the comments and I'll help you out. Or you can book in a call and I'll help you out that way, because that's not what it does. What we're supposed to get from these practices is not become really cold and distant and disengaged from our thoughts, but we're supposed to really enjoy them even more. Enjoy them without taking them personally. It brings the aliveness back into life. But as a recap, first one, you want to have some kind of background in an insight meditation practice. The second point is realizing that we can't dam the world's oceans. We have to open up and let the oceans and the currents flow naturally. The third part is the watching trains exercise. And the fourth part is, remember that it's all supposed to be fun. It's all not a big deal, and we can enjoy life even more than we are already.